Good morning, students. We now start with chapter 12, which is secondary storage structure for week 14. So here we are going to talk about secondary storage devices. We will first of all talk about mass storage structure overview, because you have already done it in your other courses, and then we are going to talk about a disk scheduling algorithm. Magnetic disk. A hard disk is a type of magnetic disk. So magnetic disk, just an overview, because you already know them. They provide a bulk of secondary storage. So they are used for permanent storage. They are the secondary storage devices of the modern computer. The disk rotates at a speed of 60 to 200 times per minute. Transfer rate, some of the important terms related to the magnetic disk. Transfer rate is the rate at which data flow between the drive and the computer. Now for the positioning time, we have two times: random access time, seek time, and rotational latency. Random access time is the time taken by the disk to move the disk arm to the desired cylinder. Random access time consists of seek time and rotational latency. So random access time is calculated as the sum of seek time and the rotational latency. So what is seek time? Seek time is the time required by the disk to move the disk arm to the desired track, or we call it as a cylinder. And rotational latency is the time needed by a disk to rotate the disk arm to the is the time taken by the desired sector to time taken by the disk to find the desired sector on the required track. So seek time is to find the correct track on the disk, and rotational latency is on a track find the desired sector where to read or write the information. Head crash results from a disk head making the contact with the disk surface. So when the disk head makes a contact with the disk surface, it results in a head crash, which is quite bad for the disk. Normally during reading and writing, there is no contact of the head with the disk surface of the disk. So if due to some reasons the head makes a contact with the disk surface, it results in the head crash. Disks are removable. You can remove a disk, and disk drive is attached to the computer with the help of the input-output bus. It is a secondary storage device. So the bus which can be used to connect the drive to the computer are EIDE, ETA, SATA, USB fiber channel, SCSI fiber channel. They are the fastest bus. Host controller in the computer uses bus to talk to the disk controller built into the drive and into the storage array. Magnetic tape, it was early secondary storage medium. It was relatively permanent. It was used for archival to store the large quantities of data. Access time was slow. The random access time was 1000 times slower than disk, so it was quite slower. Mainly used for backup, archival, or storage of infrequently used data. Data was kept in spool or wound or rewound past read-write head. Once data is under head, transfer rates are comparable to the disk, and the typical size is 20 to 200 GB. Common technologies used for 4 mm, 8 mm, 19 mm, LTO2 and STLT. I don't know how many of you have seen the floppy disk. So the magnetic tape, floppy disk is a form of the magnetic tape. So here is a structure of the magnetic disk. This is the structure of the magnetic disk. Now disk is divided into circular platter of concentric circles. So something like this. Each of this is called as the platter. Each platter is called as the track. So if you see it, this portion is called as the track. Now each track is divided into same kind of blocks, which are called as the sector. The space between the subsequent tracks. So for example, if there is a track over here, the space between the subsequent tracks is called as the inter-track gap. This is inter-track gap. Now there is a space left behind between each sector also. So this gap is called as the intersector gap. The purpose of the intersector gap to distinguish the information stored in the various sectors. Read-write head flies just above the surface of the platter. Now heads are attached to the disk arm. If you see, this is a disk arm, and the read-write heads are attached to the arm assembly over here. The surface of the platter is divided into tracks, which are subdivided into sectors. Set of tracks that are at one arm position make up a cylinder. So the set of tracks over here which are at the same position, they make up the cylinder. There must be thousands of concentric circles in a disk drive, and each track may contain hundreds of sectors. So when we want to use a disk drive, the motor spins at a high speed. There is a motor that spins at the high speed, and maybe the rotationing time may be 60 to 200 times per minute. And now the transfer rate we have discussed. It is the rate at which data flows between drive and the computer, and the random access time is divided in is the sum of seek time and the rotational latency. Seek time is the time taken by the disk to move the desired track under read-write head. If you see these black portions, these are the read-write head. For any information to be read or written, the desired track first of all has to be rotated under read-write head. When the track is found, then the desired sector has to be rotated under read-write head. So for example, at a particular time, if the information has to be stored on this sector, then first of all the desired track must be found out, then this sector must be rotated under this read-write head. If you see the black portions, these are the read-write head. So random access time is the sum of seek time and the rotational latency. Disks can be used to transfer several megabytes of the data per second. Now a disk can be removable also, because allowing a different disk to be mounted as needed. And a removable magnetic disk consists of one platter held in a plastic case to prevent the damage while not in the disk drive. Now coming to the read-write head. A disk, this is a platter. Now it may be a single-sided platter or it may be a double-sided platter. Single-sided platter means only one side of the platter can be used to record the data. Double-sided platter means both the sides can be used to record the data. So if both the sides are used to record the data, that means there will be a read-write head on the upper side also, and at the lower side also there will be a read-write head. So it will be a doubly surfaced disk. We call it as a doubly surfaced disk. For a doubly surfaced disk, there will be two read-write heads, one on the top and another one on the bottom. So this is a sector, this is a track, this is a spindle, and this is called as the platter. Disk drives are addressed as the one-dimensional arrays of logical blocks, where the logical block is the smallest unit of transfer. Sector 0 is the first sector of the first track on the outermost cylinder, and the mapping proceeds order through that track, then the rest of the tracks in that cylinder, and then through the rest of the cylinder, and from outermost to the innermost. Disk scheduling. Operating system is responsible for using the hardware efficiently. For disk drive means having a fast access time, that means data transfer rate should be faster. So in order to have a access time or data transfer, it has two main parts: access time, random access time, seek time, and the rotational latency. Just now I discussed. It is the time for the disk arm to move the head to the cylinder containing the desired sector, and is the additional waiting time for the disk to rotate the desired sector to the disk head. Our aim is to have the minimized seek time if the seek time is less if the distance between the read-write head and the desired track or the sector is less. Disk bandwidth is defined as the total number of bytes that can be transferred. How many number of bytes can be transferred, divided by the total time between the first request and the completion of the last transfer. So disk bandwidth, we can calculate the disk bandwidth, how many bytes we need to transfer, divided by total time between the first request, when the first request was serviced, and the completion of the last transfer. There are several algorithms that exist to schedule the servicing of the disk input output. So we are going to discuss the disk scheduling algorithm. Just like in chapter 5 we have the CPU scheduling algorithm, now we have the disk scheduling algorithm. So in the disk scheduling algorithm, just like in the CPU scheduling algorithm, you have the process names, you have burst time, then you have various other information, the arrival time. In case of disk scheduling algorithm, you will get some numbers, and those numbers are the numbers of the head. Numbers of the you can say it is a head number. Head pointer is at this sector or a track number. So the simplest form of disk scheduling is first come first serve. So how the question is given and how we need to solve them. First come first serve is very simple. The disk will be scheduled in the order of the number of the sectors given to it. So let's assume that we have a request queue from 0 to 99. So let's assume this, it's a first come first serve algorithm, very simple algorithm. So these are the addresses of the cylinders given to you. You can think of it as the cylinders. So we have, for example, over here request queue, and the cylinders are in the range of 0 to 199. This is the range of the cylinders, and these are the numbers or the addresses of the cylinders which need to be served. Head pointer, the pointer where the head is currently servicing, is at position number 53. So these three parameters will be given to you. Sometimes this may not be given to you, but these two parameters will always be given to you. So these are the numbers of the cylinder, or we call it as address of the cylinder, and where is the current head pointer. In this example, the current head pointer is at location number 52 or cylinder number 53, sorry. So now how the first come first serve algorithm will be done, and at the end we need to calculate total head movements, how many times the head has moved. So if the disk head is initially at 53, so head is initially at 53. Now according to first come first serve, it will serve the queue in the order of the request. So from 53, the first location that will be served will be 98. From 98 the head will go to 183, from 183 to 37, from 37 to 122, from 122 to 14, from 14 to 124, from 124 to 65, from 65 to 67. So this is quite simplest algorithm. So this is how the head will move between these various cylinder positions. At the end, we have to calculate the total head movements. Why do we need to calculate the total head movements? To find out the efficiency of a particular disk scheduling algorithm. So how to calculate it? Initially, the starting point is from 53. The head starts, the position of the head is at location number 53. So it starts from 53. Then it moves from 53 to 98. So how many locations it has moved? 98 minus 53. Then from 98 it moves to 183. How many positions it has moved? 183 minus 98. From 183 it moves to 37. How many? You will not have any negative number, please remember it. You are always going to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. So 183 minus 37. From 37 it moves to 122. So 122 minus 37. From 122 it moves to 14. So 122 minus 14. From 14 it moves to 124. 124 minus 14. From 124 it moves to 65. 124 minus 65. Then from 65 at last it moves to 67. 67 minus 65. So when we sum up these, we get total number of cylinder head movements is 640 cylinders. That means in servicing all these requests, the head has moved 640 cylinders. So first come first service, you have to move the head according to the request. There is no other rule, and at the end you have to calculate the total head movements to calculate in order to find out the efficiency of the algorithm. So this was a very simple, disk scheduling algorithm. Now, in case this type of question is asked in the exam, you will not be able to make this diagram. It will be quite difficult for you to make this diagram. So how you can list it? You can list the sequence of the head like this. That means starting from 58, 98, 183, 37, 122, 14, 124, 65 and 67. This way you can list the sequence, and then you can calculate the total head movements like this, right? So because this way drawing will not be possible on the blackboard. So this way you can write the sequence and then calculate and then do the calculations like shown over here to calculate the total head movements. Hope you get it. Now coming to the next algorithm, which is the SSTF, shortest seek time first. This is another kind of algorithm. So how does it work? It selects the request with the minimum seek time. So it selects that cylinder which is closest to the present position. So where my head pointer is at the present, the next movement it is going to serve that location which is closer to the present location. So it selects the request with the minimum seek time from the current head position, the closest position. SSTF is a form of shortest job first scheduling. It may cause starvation of some request, and let's go ahead. I have the same example, same cylinder numbers, and the head is at current position 53. So from 53, which is the closest position? 98? Of course no. If you want, you can list all these positions in the ascending order, and then you can try it. So this is the way, if you want to list it on a rough sheet of paper, then you can try it. Now if you see, we have arranged first of all in a ascending order. If you see 0, then we have listed 14, 37, 53, because 53 is the current location of the head, 65, 67, 98, 122, 124, 183 and 199. Why 199? Because our heads of the cylinders are in the range of 0 to 199. So now in this case we have to calculate, we have to move to the cylinder. The disc head will move to the cylinder which is very closest. So my current the head is at location number 53. So moving from, so where to move, whether to go to 65 or to 37. So from 53 to 65, it's almost 12 locations, but from 53 to 37, it's many locations. So the head cylinder will move from 53 to 65. Then at this position, it will check where to move, which is the closest position. 67 is the closest position, so that means it will serve the 67. Now at this point, 67, which is the closest, 98 or 37? If you see, 98 minus 67 is 31, but 67 minus 37 is 30 positions. So again, the closest is 37, not 98. So at every position, the head will calculate the minimum seek time. The cylinder which is nearer to the present position will be served first. So at this position, when the head is at 67 position, it will not move to 98. Rather, it will move to 37, because 37 is the nearer location. So it moves to 37. Now from 37, obviously 14 is nearer. So from 14, there is no choice. It has to move to 98. It will move to 98, then to 122, 124 and 183. So similarly, we will calculate the total head movements. Instead of drawing, what you can write the sequence like this. So from 53, it moves to like 65, then it moves to 67 in the exam if such type of question comes. Then from 67 it moves to 37, then from 37 it moves to 14, then from 14 moves to 98, from 98 it moves to 122, then 124, and then 183. So this way you can write, and then you can do these calculations. So how to do the calculations? So at first position it is 53, so 65 minus 53, then 67 minus 65, then 67 minus 37, then 37 minus 14, then 98 minus 14, then 122 minus 98, 124 minus 122, then 183 minus 124. So when you add up these, it will be 236 cylinders. Still better than the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So this scheduling method results in a total head movement of 236 cylinders, but still better than the first come first serve algorithm. Now next we come to the scan algorithm. So in scan algorithm, the disk arm starts at one end of the disk and moves towards the other end, serving the request as it reaches each cylinder until it gets to the other end of the disk. And at the other end, the direction of the head movement is reversed, serving is continued. This is also called as elevator algorithm because it behaves like a elevator. Head continuously scans back and forth across the disk. Now it is called as elevator because it first services all the requests going down or going up and then reversing the direction. This approach works like an elevator. It scans down or it may scan up towards the nearest end, and then when it hits the bottom it scans up, servicing the request that it didn't get going down. If a request comes in between after it has scanned, it will not be serviced until the process comes back down or move up. I will explain you this point in the example. Alright, so going to the example, for example over here. Now it will either go down or it will either go up. So it works like a scan. Now important point to note over here is it scans down towards the nearest end. So it may start moving down or it may start moving upwards depending which end is closer to it. So coming to, we have the same sequence number, we have the same position of the head. 53 is closer to 0 instead of going upwards, going to 183. So from here the head will start moving towards 0. So from 53 it will go to 37, it will go to 14, it will go to 0. Then from 0 it will start going up to 65, 67, 98, 122. Now at this position, if some request comes, when it is servicing at 122, some request comes for a location number 15. It will not go back to 15, rather it will continue going up and then go down to the location number 15. This is what is mentioned over here. If a request comes in after it has been scanned, it will not be serviced until the process comes back down or moves back up first. So it will not go down. When it hits the bottom, it scans up, servicing the request. It didn't going down. So if in between some request comes, it will not go down, rather it will service the request going towards upward, and after servicing the upward request, then it will come down. So it behaves exactly like the elevator. Now how to find the head movements in this? Because from here 53 it went to 0, no need to calculate intermediate. If you want to calculate, you can calculate, but you will get the same answer. From 53 it went to 0, so 53 minus 0. Then from 0 it went to 83, so 183 minus 0. So 183 plus 53, it is 236. It is a straightforward example. Now imagine, instead of 53, if my head is at position number somewhere 153. Alright, instead of 53, if my head is at position number 153, then going upward is because it is now closer to the upward end rather to the downward end. So in this case it will serve all the upward request up to 199, then it will go to down. Now in this case what will happen, it will serve from 153, it will go to 183, then it will go to 199. Now coming back, it will not go to 0, rather it will stop at 14. So if you see over here in this example, at one end it has reached 0, but it has not gone until 199. So it is always going to extreme end only at one side, which is it is taking first, and to the other end it will stop at the last request. So another example, if I continue with this example, if my head position is at 153, then how would my will look like? So it will go to 153 plus, first of all the present position, then it will service 183, then go to 199, then from 199 it will start then from 199 it will start going downwards. It will go to 122, 124, 122, then it will go to 98, then 65, then 67, then 37, then 40. So this is how it will start going downward. So if you see, it has not reached 0 over here. At one end it will go to the extreme end, at the other end it will just stop at the last servicing request. So similarly you can find it out like 199 minus 153, then from 199 it is going until 14, so 199 minus 14. This is how you can solve it. So here the total head movements are 236 cylinders. Alright, so moving ahead, this is another example for a scan. For example, we have this sequence and the head is at position number 50. So head is at position number 50, and since this head the position is more closer towards the downward, so it will start servicing downwards. So from 50 it will go to 41, then it will go to 11, it will go to 34, then it will go to 11, then it will go to 0. So from 0 it will start jumping up from 0 to 60, from 60 to 79, 92, 114 and 176. It's not going towards the other end to 199, it is just stopping at the last request. So in between, if some request comes, like over here when it is servicing 92, some request comes to from the position number 12, it will not immediately go to position number 12, rather it will complete the upward request first. So now you can calculate and if you see, the total number of head movements are 226. You can write like this as I explained you in the exam, no need for drawing this. So the initial, but write the initial head position also here. From 50 it goes to 41, from 41 then 34, 11, 0, 60, 79, 92, 114 and 176. So total head movements over here are from 50 it goes to 0, so 50 minus 0, then from 0 it goes to 176, so 176 minus 0, so it will be 176 plus 50, it is 226. So it's quite simple. C-scan, it's a circular scan. It provides a more uniform wait time than scan. Head moves from one end of the disk to the another, service similar to the scan. When it reaches the other end, however, it immediately returns to the beginning of the disk without servicing any request on the return trip. It returns the cylinders as a circular list that wrap rounds from the last cylinder to the first one. The head movement when it is not servicing any request is not counted. So let's look over here. So it works like scan, but when it is coming down, those requests are not counted over here. If you see in the scan, we have counted over here when it is going upwards. So for example, if it is going upwards, they are not they are counted over here, but in circular scan it is not counted. So if you see over here, so it can go upward, it can go downward. We can take the example here, they have depicted going upward. So from basically the idea is complete one end first and then move to the another end. So from 53 to 65, 65 to 67, then 98, 122, 124, 183 and 199. It will move to this extreme end. Now from 199 it will not service the other request, rather it will move to 0 location. It will not, like from going from 199, it has location number 37 and 14 in between. It will not service, rather it will go to the down and then from down it will go upward. So it's going in a circular fashion, something like this. It's going in a circular to and fro fashion. So from 0 it will go to 37 and 14 and 53. Now while we are calculating this 199 to 0, it will not be counted in calculations. So how to calculate it? So it went from 53 to 199 straight, 199 minus 53 plus. Then it went to 199 to 0. This will not be counted. So it went to from 0 to 37, this will be counted. So 199 minus 53 is 146 and 37 minus 0 is 37. So it makes total of 183 cylinders. So when it goes from topmost position to the bottommost position, that is not counted in the calculations. That is the basic difference. C-look, circular look, is a version of C-scan. Arm only goes as far as the last request in each direction, then reverses the direction immediately without first going the all way to the end of the disk. Now the difference over here is, in C-scan it goes to the extreme one end, although 199 is not here in the list, but it still goes to the last end. But in case of C-look, it will just go to 183, then from 183 it will go back. Let's look at it over here. Now if you see over here, from 53 to 65, 60, it can service, it can go backwards also. 53 to 65, 65 to 67, 67 to 98, 98 to 122, 122 to 124, then at 183. It is not going to 199. Then from 183 it will go to directly to 14, then 37. So it is not going to the extreme positions. This is the difference. Now going from 183 to 14, this is not counted in calculations. So how are you going to do the calculations? From 53 it goes to 183 in between servicing the request. So 183 minus 53, and then 183 to 14 it is not counted. Then from 14 to 37 it goes, so 37 minus 14, so it is 130 plus 23, 153 cylinders. So just a variation of the difference between the C-scan and the C-look, scan, C-scan and C-look, just a minor difference. So selecting a disk scheduling algorithm, how to scan. SSTF is a common and has a natural appeal. Scan and C-scan, they perform better for the systems that place a heavy load on the disk, and performance depends upon the number and the type of request, how many number of requests and what is the type. Request for disk service can be influenced by the file allocation method also, file size, file allocation, type of files. So this can also affect the scheduling algorithms. Scheduling algorithms should be written as a separate module of the operating system, allowing it to be replaced with the different algorithm if necessary. So they should not be a part or combined with the operating system. It should be a separate module. Either SSTF or look is reasonable choice as a default algorithm. Neither first come first serve, nor C-scan, nor C-look. Look is another algorithm. We have not yet look scheduling. So look scheduling or SSTF, look the one that we have discussed. Look or SSTF is a reasonable choice. neither scan nor C-scan or FCFS, they are not the desired choices. So these are the most appealing algorithms. So thank you so much. We have finished this chapter, and your questions are more welcome in the class.